Podcast Answer Man, episode number 177.
Entertaining, educational, and encouraging content that makes a difference. This is GSPN.TV. Join the community.
Hey, this is Chris Brogan from chrisbrogan.com, and you're listening to the Podcast Answer Man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Answer Man. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft, and this, of course, is the podcast devoted to answering your questions about podcasting and new media. How can we find ways to step up the audio quality of our show? How can we be more effective at communicating with our audience? Testing out new ways of building our show notes, and, of course, answering your questions about how to monetize your podcast and all kinds of other wonderful things. And today, as you guys know, I don't frequently bring in people to interview for the podcast here for Podcast Answer Man, but I am bringing somebody onto the show today that absolutely could not wait until later down the road. I know that I just recently brought on Rob from over there at Zune Podcasting over at Microsoft. But today, I'm very excited about bringing to you an interview that I'm going to do right now with Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income. And rather than go all into explaining who he is, you're going to get all of that in the interview, the conversation right now. I just want to say, Pat, thank you for coming on to the show.
Hey, thanks, Cliff. Thanks for having me. Hello to everyone out there listening in. Thanks for taking the time.
Now, I want to explain to folks and let you know that Pat is relatively a newer client that contacted me, I'd say, maybe 2 months ago?
Yeah, a few months back. 2 or 3 months ago. 2-3
months ago, Pat contacted me and says, hey, I heard about you. I don't even remember. How did we get connected? How did you hear about me initially?
I was recommended to you from Jason Van Orden from Internet Business Mastery.
Very cool. Well, Jason, thank you very much for that. He's a great guy and has done so many things to help me out in promoting the services that I offer. But I'm so glad that he did that because you, my friend, have, I think, probably one of the coolest blogs I've ever come across. And if I was ever tempted to read a blog, your blog was the one I'd be tempted to read.
Oh, I appreciate that. I know you don't like to read blogs and you're more listening into podcasts, but I really appreciate that.
No, and it was so funny because you came to me and says, hey, I'm looking to launch a podcast. I'd like to consult with you to find out, how can I do this and get some pointers and stuff like that. So the thing is, though, is like you said, I'm not a huge blog reader. I used years ago, before I started podcasting, I used to blog a lot. I used to subscribe to blogs, but I've never really enjoyed reading. It's just not one of those things I really enjoy. I make myself read when it comes to books that are inspirational and stuff like that. But man, reading blogs, the most I do these days, I find myself, I'm subscribed to Mashable. I used to subscribe to Read Write Web and a couple other tech blogs, but I found that Mashable had the most stories that I was interested in, and the ones that I found interesting on the other ones was duplicated, from Mashable anyway. So I do read I actually read the blog feed every day from Mashable and read the stories that are most interesting to me, and I usually just glance over them. That's the extent of my blog interaction. But I will say that I did subscribe to your blog from the day I first talked with you. I subscribed to your blog. I'll be honest with you. As intriguing as it was, seeing your monthly reports coming in, as being as interested as I am in learning about affiliate marketing and all this other stuff and all the valuable stuff I could learn from your journey, for some reason, I still never got around to having the free time to read the blog. So I want to say I'm excited to announce that not only do you have a blog, but you actually launched a podcast.
I did. I'm having a ton of fun with it. I've been wanting to launch a podcast for over 2 years now. If you go back in the archives of Smart Passive Income blog, you'll see me mention, I think it's in, November of 2008, I mentioned wanting to do a podcast, and it was only just last month when I finally launched it. And, it's taken a long time. I didn't know where I wanted to go with it. And kind of the community around my blog kind of shaped what it was going to be. So I'm kind of glad that I waited, but I kind of sort of also wish I did it earlier. But of course, was thanks to you and your help that it finally got off the ground.
Well, let's talk about blogging for a little bit. I mean, because you have found a great deal of success with your blog and other blogs that you do, but specifically with this blog, smartpassiveincome.com, and I want to encourage everybody, go there and subscribe to this blog. If you subscribe to any feeds, you should certainly subscribe to this blog. But how long have you been blogging, first off?
Well, when I started blogging, I actually started blogging on the Zanga platform back in college, and blogging back then was more about just keeping your friends informed of the shenanigans you did last weekend and stuff like that. But that's how I learned about blogging, what it was. But I never knew that it could be anything more than just personal stuff, but that you can actually help people and provide value to people that are looking for information online. When I actually started taking blogging seriously was when I started with my Green Exam Academy website, which is my very first online business, which was a site that I created to help people pass the LEED exam, which is an exam in the architecture industry. That's what I graduated with, an architecture degree. It's to help them pass a certain test that deals with green buildings and sustainable design. But that's kind of when I started taking blogging and giving information away on a website seriously. And then from my success there, I started the Smart Passive Income blog as a way to help people and to show people that it was possible to make a living online and do so passively in a way that you don't have to trade your hours for dollars. It's more about kind of putting the hard work in at the beginning and then continually earning money on and time again. That's what the blog's about. I'm really, really enjoying the blogging platform and how I'm able to create a community behind the people who also have the same interests, much like podcasting does, but in a different way, obviously. But I'm really glad to have expanded onto the podcasting platform on iTunes. I've been lucky enough to be featured by Apple in the new Noteworthy section in business. I was there the first 2 weeks the podcast was up, and then I dropped off, and somehow I got back on. And I'm getting emails every day from people who are finding me on iTunes who say, I found you on iTunes, Pat. I love your blog. I want to learn more. And then we're just building relationships from there. So I'm having a really good time, just expanding into this different media.
Well, I want to back up just a few minutes because here's the situation. Now, I understand that you worked in a career in architecture that you really enjoyed. You worked a 9-to-5 job. And you were not blogging while you were working there, or were you?
No, I wasn't blogging. I did
for
have
business
a blog,
purposes.
Though. Not blogging for business, but I did have a blog which was primarily set up. Actually, it was only set up to keep track of my notes because I had gotten familiar with how blogging worked. Mm-hmm. My handwriting is terrible, and I could type a lot faster. So when I was studying for this exam, the LEED exam, I just kept track of my notes on the blog because it was easy for me to organize and keep track. And I traveled a lot when I was in my architecture career, and I was able to access my notes from my laptop when I was on travels, like in the airplane or wherever. So that's kind of where that started. But yeah, I had a 9-to-5 job in architecture. I loved it. I had my whole life planned out ahead of me. I was ready to devote 40 years of my life to this industry. Good salary, I was climbing the ladder. I was the youngest person to be ever promoted to job captain from a drafting position. And then it all just kind of crumbled when the economy went down. I went down along with it. And, it was impossible to get another job in the architecture field because no one, credit was bad and no one was building anything. So they didn't need any designers, obviously. And I kind of was inspired by podcasts that I had been listening to, other blogs about making money online, and I said, hey, why can't I do this too? So that's when I started getting really serious about blogging, and I took my blog that I had with my notes and turned that into a business that was, again, teaching people how to pass this exam. I created an ebook study guide for it. I outsourced for a voice talent to read that book and create an audio product with that too. And in the first month, after creating that ebook, after I was laid off, I sold that book I sold 309 copies for almost $8,000.
Sweet.
The first month. The next month, I think it was 12,000, and then it grew. January of 2009, it was like 19,000, and then I peaked at $30,000 in 1 month in March of 2009, which was actually the month after I had gotten married. So I was on my honeymoon for half the half that month and not really working very much, but I was still able to have a record month of $30,000 that month.
That is awesome. Hey, I'm going to pause this for just a second. I got the lawn guy out here weed eating. I'm going to go close my window.
All right.
And we're back.
All right.
Alrighty. So I'm looking at your blog here, and I'm reading the About page. It says, it turns out that getting laid off was the best thing that ever happened to me. Without my 9-to-5 job holding me back, I've since been able to earn more money and work less hours. Some people call this lifestyle design. I call it awesome.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I want to say, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this a little bit later. But here's my favorite thing about your About page, and this is my favorite thing I know about you personally and why you're really here on this show. And this is what it says. It says here, I don't consider myself an online marketing guru. My techniques are not secrets, and what I teach is not a get-rich-quick scheme. If you're looking to get rich quick, then I'm sorry, you're not in the right place. Good luck to you. Earning a passive income online takes hard work, some patience, and a little bit of luck too. But if you're determined to change your life and work hard at what you want to accomplish, you will get paid for it. And that is absolutely 100% something I believe wholeheartedly and know to be true from my own experience in life.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, and it's, matter of fact, did you read Jason Fried's book, Rework?
No.
Jason Fried's book, Rework, is really amazing. It's a short book. I told you I hate to read, right?
Right.
But anyway, it's a book that can be read in an extremely short period of time. And his chapters are, usually like 3 paragraphs in length. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. And here's one of them. It's called The Myth of the Overnight Sensation. And let me just read this little short bit here because it reminds me of what you say on your blog. You will not be a big hit right away. You will not get rich quick. You are not so special that everyone else will instantly pay attention. No one cares about you. At least not yet. Get used to it. You know those overnight success stories you've heard about? It's not the whole story. Dig deeper and you'll usually find people who have busted their butts for years to get into a position where things could take off. And on the rare occasion that the instant success does come along, it usually doesn't last because there's no foundation to support it. Trade the dream of overnight success for slow, measured growth. It's hard, but you have to be patient. You have to grind it out. You have to do it for a long time before the right people notice. Now, Pat, just before I hit the record button, you and I were just talking about this principle of, working hard at this, and then you never know when the right person is going to notice. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that experience for you.
Well, for example, on my Smart Passive Income blog, I had it up for 6 months just talking about what I was doing, and I wasn't seeing any traffic. I wasn't getting very many comments, and I almost gave up on the blog a number of times just because I wasn't sure if it was worth it. But then one day, I noticed this track back, a link that was linking back to my blog. I go over to it, and this guy from lazymanandmoney.com, he's a personal finance blogger. He wrote an entire blog post about me and my blog, and the title of that headline was "The Best Money Blog That You're Not Reading." And then he just linked over to my blog, talked about how great it was, and I couldn't believe it. I emailed him right away to thank him. He said, "No problem, you deserve it. Hopefully you'll get some traffic from my guys." And wouldn't you know it, the next day I had, a couple hundred more subscribers. I had a lot more traffic, and then it just kept getting better and better and better from there. I was lucky enough to be featured on Yarl Stark's blog at entrepreneursjourney.com a few months later, grabbed a couple more, a few thousand more subscribers from there. And, my traffic shot from 10 visitors a day back when it started to now it's getting about 5,000 page views a day, and it's climbing even higher. And it's just amazing how it all just starts with one person who you don't even know sometimes. So it was because I was providing content that was excellent, over the top, for free. Someone, if you keep doing that, you're bound to have someone just be nice and pay you back. I really truly believe in the whole karma thing, especially online. it's all about providing value to people, and eventually it'll come back and reward you.
Yeah, here I talk about the theory of reciprocity a lot, that if you do things to somebody else that provides great value, there's this innate desire to want to return value back to you.
Right, and not everyone's going to reciprocate, but it only takes one person to change everything for you.
And for me, it was that person for you. It was Dan Miller for me, and my audience knows exactly what I'm talking about a majority of my audience that have listened for the last, at least the last 20 episodes or so. You know exactly what Dan Miller did for me, and it's just nice. Let's talk about the subject matter, the niche topic of your blog, Smart Passive Income. What is passive income?
Passive income is basically a way to make money that does not require you to trade your valuable time for money. It's not you're not working X hours for X amount of dollars. And the reason why you don't want to do that, or that's the reason why that's tough, is because there's really only two ways to increase your income. You can work more, like overtime, or get a raise, or get a new job. And that kind of limits yourself on how much money you can make. And you can be the hardest working person at that job, or the weakest person, the slacker, and you'll be making nearly the same amount of money, which just doesn't seem right. And with passive income, you get rewarded for the hard work that you do. You put in the hard work at the beginning, and then you can set it on autopilot. And then later, you'll see the income come in. That's exactly what happened with my greenexamacademy.com website. I spent a long time creating those notes. 6 months putting all my notes online for people to find on Google and through search engines, and then just word of mouth. And I created an ebook which took 2 months to write, and then I put that all out there. And then basically had the right system set up using different services online to make it automated. Thanks to some of the philosophies of 4-hour work week and stuff like that. And, you just basically push an on button after you set up all those things, and then the money starts coming in if you set it all correctly. And, obviously I was pretty lucky to get $8,000 in that first month, but it was all because of the previous months of hard work that I put in. So ever since that day, I've only spent maybe 1 to 2 hours a week on that website. And with my extra time, I've been able to do things that I love, like spend time with my family. I just recently had a baby boy, so I'm here at home, and I'm able to witness all of his firsts. I am able to create new passive income streams. I've gotten into the iPhone app business. My partner and I, we created an iPhone app development company. We create apps, put them on iTunes, and they make money for us on autopilot. And I'm doing a whole bunch of other different kind of passive income methods, and then that's kind of what I explore on my blog at smartpassiveincome.com. Just different ways to make money that does not require you to work like real time to earn that money.
Right. I mean, and here's the deal. It's not that it doesn't require you to work, because you obviously had mentioned 6 months of work of putting notes together, 2 months of work of putting together the ebook. Now I imagine that was I'm actually in the process of putting together 2 ebooks currently, and it's a lot of work to put together an ebook.
It is a lot of work, but the nice thing about an ebook specifically is that you can do it all yourself, and it doesn't really cost anything but your time.
Right.
And the hard thing is when you're doing it, it like I said, it takes 2 months. You don't know, when you're doing it, if it's ever going to make money. I mean, hopefully you do some market research before to give you a chance to, but you never know. You're putting those 2 months of work in without seeing any returns right away.
Right.
And that's the hard part. That's where a lot of people just stop and give up, because they want to see that money come in right away, which is, with passive income doesn't happen usually. And so, it's just kind of believing in yourself, staying confident, staying the course, and just doing it and putting yourself out there. That's what it's all about. You just put content online, and nothing's ever going to happen unless you do that. It's like, I like to use this analogy with golf. I play golf a lot, and if you're putting, if you don't even reach the hole, you've never given yourself a chance to sink the putt.
Right.
At least go strong enough to go past it. So hopefully you're in alignment so that you do go in the hole. But if you don't, at least you gave yourself a shot.
Right. And so, the other thing that I want to just reiterate again is that you started Smart Passive Income blog, and there were points where you were working at this, and just wasn't going the way that you had hoped, and you had almost given up on it.
Oh, several times. Absolutely.
So I want people to understand those couple things, that 6 months of work, 2 months for creating an ebook, working hard at creating a whole new brand, the smartpassiveincome.com, and getting so frustrated to the point where on several occasions you almost just tossed it all in the can.
Yeah.
To where and to where what I want to suggest people do right now, if you're listening, pause this until you can get in front of a browser and go to smartpassiveincome.com, and up in the navigation menu, I want you to go to income reports. And I will tell you right there, all the way from October 2008 all the way up through July of 2010, you have links to your monthly income report. Tell us about this.
Well, I like to post my income reports up on my blog, not because I'm trying to show off or anything like that, but just so people know that it's possible to create an income online. And, I don't just put my numbers up there. I reveal everything as far as where they came from, what lessons I've learned, what I have done that may have an effect on my income, because I'm here to teach people exactly how I do this, and hopefully tell you, what works and what doesn't work. And so far things are working out pretty well. And a lot of people have, I've helped out a lot of people and inspired a lot of people to change their lives and do something similar for themselves as well. So, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of you might visit that right now and be like, oh, this kid, 27-year-old kid from San Diego, surfer dude, like, I'm not a surfer dude, I don't, but he's making tons of money, but, it took a lot of hard work, and my back was up against the wall because I was laid off. I had this awesome job, and it was all taken away from me, and, I had to succeed. Like, I had no choice. And that's why I'm sharing everything. I'm very transparent and honest with everything I do online. I reveal my mistakes just as much as I reveal my successes, because I want to help people do the same thing, because I know a lot of people's backs are up against the wall right now too.
It's amazing, and I know this resonates with my audience, because if they're interested in me, they have to be interested in your story, Pat, because I know for a fact that a lot of the reason why people are interested in following me is not because I'm the greatest person in the world, but it's the story of how I decided to completely leave behind the 9 to 5 and to actually go after my passion. And I put myself, now I actually put myself in the position that you found yourself in, where It was either make it or drown. And, but the fact is that this stuff really is possible. I think you're just as much a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crush It, as I am, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've mentioned it several times. People, if you have not read that book, go get it. It will take you. And again, you've already heard me talk about this in the beginning of this podcast. I don't like to read. I read that book in 1.5 afternoons. And
it's a short read.
Very short
fast read.
Very short read. Very fast. And I agree with everything he wrote, minus one thing. The only thing I disagree with is he doesn't think that, you need to get all caught up in the quality of the camera or microphones that you use. And I think that that's the only detriment that keeps me from watching his podcast. But I'm just saying, of course, the thing is who am I to argue with a man who's a millionaire? So, the principles that he talks about are so true. And looking at your income, by the way, folks, if you're not there, if you haven't paused, you decided to listen to this whole thing before you go home and look at it. I'm just going to tell you right here, since January, there's only been 1 month that you're under $10,000 worth of passive income, and you only missed the mark of $10,000 by $575. And I see that in April you had 11,461. In May you earned 16,332, and just in July you had 13,000. So I mean, you're doing something right. And the thing is where I see that you've been doing the passive income thing. You were smart when you were was against the wall and you started to think about this online business, online marketing, and stuff like that. You were smart about not training the hours for dollars from the beginning. And I actually went from this the other way around. I traded the hours for dollars to start off with, and then I learned what people wanted, and now I'm actually creating the products that I know people have paid me thousands and thousands of dollars for. Now I know exactly what products to create, and I'm in product creation overload or overdrive, not overload. I love what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, either way is fine. It's just like, because I'm sure when you were doing what you were doing, that was taking all that time. You loved doing it.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're into consultations and stuff, you can use that as your starting point to create passive income for sure. And, I'm at a point now where people are emailing me every day, asking me for one-on-one coaching help. And it's hard because I want to keep that passive income model going. But, obviously consultations and coaching will take time, and I really love to help people. So I'm kind of balancing that out right now. That's kind of what's going on in my business. And, because I have a family right now and I really enjoy spending time with them, and I want to spend as much time with them as possible. But yeah, so either way, I mean, if I know a lot of you out there might have clients, and you can use them as inspiration to help you decide what to do for passive income.
Right. If there was only a way that you could only spend 2 hours of your time and help 14 people all at once, that would be a really cool way to do things.
That would.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But before we do, I want to let you guys know that, the conversation here, I want to have one further conversation. So your blog gets this, you catch a break. You catch a break. Somebody blogs about you, starts sending a ton of traffic, and of course that snowballs. And that person was certainly followed by other influential people who would then tell other people about your blog. And I know how that works, and it's such a great feeling, and I'm so excited it happened to you. So in my opinion, when you came to me, I already see somebody who is a huge success online. You have a niche audience. You have a following. Your Twitter followers, I can see that. I think you're up around 46,700 some odd Twitter followers. You've got 9,900 subscribers to your blog. I mean, you're there. But you said, I'm thinking about. I want to create an audio version of what I'm doing here, and that's when you contacted me. Tell me what this is. Well, first of all, before you tell me what it's done to change, why since 2008 have you wanted to do a podcast but haven't? What held you back from it?
You know what it really was? What really wanted me to do a podcast in the first place was the fact that a podcast is what inspired me to go down this route. Internet Business Mastery, they're one of the top internet business podcasts available on iTunes, and I had been listening to them for over a year, and just listening for entertainment. That they talked about starting your online business, and I had my 9-to-5, so I wasn't planning to do that. But after I got laid off, they had this program that you could join, and I joined that, and it really changed my view and helped me craft what I have today. So that I know how much I learned from that podcast and how much it inspired me. So I wanted to do the same thing for people. And I've wanted to do that since the beginning, since I started the Smart Passive Income blog. But again, what held me back was all the technical aspects. I was totally lost, didn't know where to start, didn't know who to talk to. I thought that you had to manually upload, your episodes into some iTunes uploader, and that's how it all worked. I had no idea, about the whole feeds and all that stuff and how that worked with iTunes. But again, after talking to you, I figured, you helped me figure everything out, and now I have a podcast that I really enjoy doing, and has been seeing some pretty good success in the 5 episodes in We Are.
And folks, I want to tell you, this will just show you the testimony to the number of followers that Pat has. If I'm not mistaken, within your first 4 episodes, you're already at more than 2,000 subscribers.
2,000 subscribers, yeah, 35 almost 5-star comments in iTunes, and a lot of people emailing me saying they found me just off of iTunes, which is great. I'm using the podcast not only as a way to give back for podcasting and what it's done for me, but as a way to expand my brand, which has been awesome. I have my blog, which is for people who read. I have YouTube videos for people who watch, and now I have an audio podcast for people who listen, and while at the gym or on a run or whatever.
Now, you track, obviously, is in a part of your passive income. You believe in the power of the list, the newsletter email lists.
Absolutely.
And so you were tracking consistently how many people were on average signing up for your your mailing list before podcast and then after podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Before I had the podcast, I was averaging maybe 15 to 20 people subscribing to my newsletter every day, which is good. I mean, that's great. But then I started the podcast, implemented some strategies, and I don't think it was a coincidence, but the week after I launched the podcast, episode number 1, when I was in iTunes, I started seeing an average of 40 to 50 subscribers a day into my newsletter. I had no idea there was this much reach with podcasting. There's an entire pool of people out there
that
who
don't
are
read blogs.
Untapped. Yeah, who don't read blogs. You.
I feel so bad. It's like, because I'm sitting here, I'm working with you. It's like, oh man, should I be authentic? Should I be honest and say, man, I totally dig what you're doing, but man, I just don't read it.
No, that's fine. I mean, I appreciate the authenticity. I mean, I think that's really important, and why people follow you and why people love you.
Now here's the situation. I will tell you though, I have listened to every single episode of your podcast, and because I've listened to your podcast, I now feel like I know you more personally. Of course, you and I have interacted quite a bit, through consulting. But still, I feel like I know you a little bit more each time I listen to you, and I know your principles and your values and so much. And I will tell you, since listening to your podcast, I have gone in and perused your site and read deeper into it. So I've actually read a whole lot more of your website and various posts, and I've actually dug into some of the income reports and read through some of your thoughts about how, what you're learning month after month. So I have learned a lot, and what has caused me to actually read and dig deeper into your blog when I normally wouldn't do so was the fact that now I feel like I have a more personal one-on-one relationship with you, because I feel like with a podcast, there is that connection. I hear your voice, I hear your excitement, I hear your passion. And for me, I just have a difficult time picking up on some of those subtle cues of who you are as a person just by reading text on a page.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And that's probably the reason why I connected with podcasts at the beginning, and why I attribute kind of my path and journey to podcasting is because of that. There's just something that goes along with listening to someone's voice, and you can kind of tell how authentic they are.
Right.
And like when I listen to your voice in some of your shows, I definitely know, and I can hear the passion behind what you're talking about. And I see your point with how, it can be hard to get those little nuances and understand tone just from reading.
Exactly. But at the same time, and I harp on this for my audience and for my consulting clients, I believe that every audio podcaster should be blogging. Between your podcast episodes, you should be putting out written content. Now, I wish I was doing more than I do. I have been getting a lot better at it. I used to spend hours crafting blog entries. And I make this is something I admit, I make the false assumption, and I know this to be false, but I make the false assumption that because I don't have time to read and I don't like to read online stuff, that nobody else would either. And I think that that's something that we all need to consider, that we have our prejudices about the way that we do things, and we sometimes carry that in and assume that other people are the same way. But it's clearly obvious that people are reading and devouring every single piece of text on your website.
Oh yeah, I got some crazy fans, that's for sure, who comment on every post and just eat it all up, and and I love them for that. And, they don't just read the podcast or read the blog posts too. They watch all my videos, they listen to the podcast. So people will consume all different types of content. That's for sure.
Exactly. And here's the other thing I want to say is you interviewed me on your podcast. I'm on podcast episode number 5 over at smartpassiveincome.com, right?
Number 5, yeah.
And that episode was released yesterday morning?
Yesterday morning, yep.
All right. I will tell you, I have been interviewed on more podcasts than I can count, because it's one of my favorite things to do. I love to be interviewed by other podcasters. I love it. I love it. I love it. I probably allow myself to be interviewed as a guest on at least 1 to 3 podcasts per week. And Pat, I'm going to tell you something, and anybody that knows me knows that I never say things just to puff up people's, ego or anything like that. I've been on a lot of podcasts. I've been on podcasts where there have been, the podcaster has done, 400 episodes, and I have never in my life received such an immediate response to being interviewed on somebody's podcast as I have with your podcast. You're on episode number 5. I've added 40 new Twitter followers within the last 24 hours. Not only that, but these are not just new followers. These are people who are emailing me. I mean, immediately emailing me. I just heard your interview on Pat's podcast. I would like to talk to you about XYZ. Hey, it's just immediate. And of course, I know why this is, because you and I are both, our target audience is exactly the same. Small to medium-sized business people looking to online market and stuff like that. Right. I know that my audience definitely, clearly is going to be interested in learning about what you have to say about earning passive income and monetizing, their podcast through using some of the strategies that you use. And at the same time, you've got a lot of people out there who are out there blogging it. They're crushing it with their online marketing. And they're very interested. It's like, oh, you know what? I've been thinking about doing a podcast since 2008, and I've never got around doing it. And now I hear you. It's like, wow, this is so inspiring. I want to do this. So this is awesome stuff. So the podcast is going good for you.
It is, yeah. I'm really enjoying it. I already have 5 more episodes already outlined to do in the future.
And folks, I'll tell you, I get approached by a lot of people asking me if they can come on to my show as a guest. And I'm not a huge fan of that, to be honest with you. I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't like people to ask me, hey, I think I would be a great guest on your show, and here's the product and or service that I think I could promote to your audience that I know that they're going to love from me. I'm like, seriously? Okay. But I'm just not a fan of that. But and if you go into the archives, you'll know there are not a lot of interviews in here. And you've got one of the spots. My friends, this is why, because I believe in what Pat teaches. I really do. Everything you go and read his about page, this guy is the real deal. I could tell from the minute I heard from him. In fact, there are several things about my own, business practices and stuff like that. I love the fact that when you came to me, you said, I'm not looking to spend a ton of time on this podcast. And I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, well, I've heard this before. It's like, I really want to start a podcast, but I'm really not sure I want to spend a lot of hours each week trying to build this thing. And I'm thinking, it's like, oh gosh, here goes another guy who's not willing to crush it. And then it's like, I realized, it's like, wait a second, this guy's already crushed it. So it was interesting. I saw your family values. It's like, listen, I've got a baby boy. I want to spend as much time with him as I can. And I totally was blown away by you're saying, you know what? There are other ways I can make a ton of income. I'm not interested in that right now. I'm interested in this. And just to see that you're not into this get rich quick. You and I have had a wonderful conversation back and forth via Skype and emails and stuff like that. My friends, this is the part of the show where I want to tell you that Pat and I are teaming up together to offer something to you guys. And Pat, do you want to tell them about what it is?
Sure. Well, Cliff and I decided that, we want to hold a webinar for you guys and try to get you guys to make some money online passively through some of the different practices that I learned by both doing a podcast and doing internet business. So I want to share with you guys as much as possible to get your podcast off the ground and starting to earn money online and from your audience.
Exactly. And of course, we sat down in a planning session to have a strategy about what this webinar would be and what we would offer. And we decided that the target audience here is for podcasters. And so this is going to be an internet marketing strategy for podcasters. Now, I do want to say that I sent out a note to my mailing list about this. And I'm going to read to you what I wrote in there, because this has caused a lot of confusion and a lot of concern in people's minds of whether or not this might be for them. But I wrote this in the email that I sent out to the mailing list. I said, the target audience for this session are podcasters who have at least 200 subscribers to their show. If you've been podcasting for more than a year and have over 500 subscribers and have not found a way to monetize your podcast, you do not want to miss this opportunity to talk with Pat and myself as we share a proven internet strategy, marketing strategy that will generate podcast income from your podcast. So what got them, though, is the at least 200 subscribers. And so I got a bunch of emails saying, hey, I've only got 50 or 60 or 70 subscribers. Do you think this is still for me? Let me explain to you what I mean by, at least 200 subscribers. If you are at a place where you believe that you are going to do everything it takes to get to at least 200 subscribers, because if you're just in this as a hobby, and there are those of you who are listening to Podcast Answer Man, and this is just a hobby for you. You're just playing around, you're dabbling, and you like to listen to Podcast Answer Man because you like to grab a little tip here or there, and that's fine. This webinar is not for you. What this webinar is for people who are serious about growing an audience. Have you read Seth Godin's Tribes?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Everything Seth Godin, I take in like a funnel.
Exactly. And so if for those of you who are familiar with Seth Godin, if you have read Tribes and it resonates with you, you're looking to build a tribe online, if you're looking to build a community, if you're looking to build a following, a fan base, if you're looking to build a community, that maybe it's not at 200 subscribers just yet, but you definitely have plans to get to 200 or more subscribers, then this is for you, because this is going to help you even in your early stages to think about the things. What are we going to talk about in this webinar? What are some of the things that we're going to give people that they're going to come away with?
Well, but before I get to that, I just want to mention, it's internet marketing for podcasters. And I know a lot of people, when they hear, internet marketing, they think about scams and doing all these things that aren't cool. Well, no, this is all about providing value to the audience that you have and how to get them to want to pay you for stuff that you have. Nothing scammy or black hat or anything like that. This is all like true, honest stuff. We're just telling you the systems that you can put in place to make all that happen for you. I mean, I'm sure you already have the capability to do it. We're just going to show you how. And so kind of in the webinar, we're going to talk about, we're going to use examples from our own businesses, because that's, that's what's working for us. And we're going to talk about how to set up your email list, what to include, what services to use for that, how to utilize your podcast to get people onto your mailing list and why that's important, and how to utilize affiliate marketing, maybe create your own products, the different ways you can do that, all the different ways that you can choose to make money online, and how to utilize each of those for your podcast and your mailing list. We're also going to talk about just the mindset that's involved and how to get, those craving fans who I literally have fans on my blog and podcast who, if I come out with a product tomorrow, they're not even going to think twice about what it is. They're just going to pay me for it.
Yes.
Which is crazy to think about. And, you might think, well, why would anyone ever do that? But, we're providing so much content and value to these people that they feel like they have to just give us money, which sounds crazy. But I mean, we're going to talk about all this in the webinar, and there's a lot of philosophies and stuff involved with internet business too that are really important to understand.
Absolutely. And I want to let you know we are limiting the class to 14 participants. And I will tell you right now, as of the recording of this podcast, only 10 spots are open. The 4 spots were sold immediately, and the rest of you, I did not want to send out a second email clarifying my minimum of 200 podcasts. You know me, I'm an inbox zero guy, and I really respect your inbox, so I did not want to send out a secondary message saying, hey, if you've got less than 200 subscribers, let me break this down for you and tell you what I think about this. But if you're interested in signing up, I want to encourage you to go to, it is podcastanswerman.com/smart passive income passive income webinar. That's it. I should have that written down. Anyway, it is podcastanswerman.com/passive income webinar. And of course, there'll be a link in Podcast Answer Man show notes, episode number 177. But I'm just going to check that, just make sure one more time. Yes, it is podcastanswerman.com/passive income webinar. And of course, we're going to talk about having short URLs and easier things to remember. Pat's going to teach me a lot of things that I need to do to improve my own internet marketing strategy. But Pat, let me tell you something. This was totally unplanned. What happened to me Monday. And again, folks, I'm brand new into this passive income stuff. You know that if you've been following me. And so this is a brand new world to me. Already I've experienced a ton of great success. Back in January, I did my very first thing with passive income and created a webinar series and made $10,000 in 1 week. It was out of this world.
Awesome.
But this Monday, I had full intentions of working on Monday, on Labor Day. But the kids were off school, and at the last minute, I slept in until 11:30 in the afternoon. I knew nobody was expecting me to return emails. I didn't have any client calls scheduled, so I slept until 11:30. I woke up, and just at the last minute, I decided, I wonder if Stephanie and the kids would be interested in going to Kings Island, which is it's a big amusement park about 45 minutes from us. Mm-hmm. And so we decided at the last minute just for me to just take the day off, hang out with the wife and the kids, and go to an amusement park. And so I'm sitting there riding rides. It's 67 degrees, it was 67 when we started. We got up to in the 80s. But anyway, it was beautiful, no humidity, blue skies everywhere, just enjoying the most awesome day with my family. And while I was at Kings Island, my phone goes, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. I made $330 of income while I was at Kings Island with my family.
Nice. I love that. Actually, I gotta in the few minutes we've been doing this interview, I've actually made 3 sales. I can see them on my screen right now. 2 ebook sales and 1 affiliate sale. So that's kind of what we're going to teach you in this webinar is how to automate things too, just to set things up properly so you don't have to work on them later. And you can honestly, I know it sounds, when I put it this way, it sounds bad, but you can make money in your sleep.
Yes.
Really.
Yes, but it's not going to happen overnight. Although, and one other thing, I've been recording podcasts since 8:30 this morning, and I had to look at my email before I got on the phone with you, or before I got on Skype with you. I just looked. I actually sold $499 worth of podcast equipment from my website while I was recording shows today.
Nice.
So thank you very much to you know who you are. I won't go into any names there. But man, Pat, I'm excited for you. And for, I was excited to get to meet you, and I was really excited about the topic of your blog, but I was really excited to learn that you were going to start a podcast, and your podcast is really cool. I like the nuances of what you're doing.
I'm trying to throw in a little bit of nuances in there, some creative things that help me stand out from the crowd, which is something that I teach a lot. Is competition's cool. I know there's a billion other internet marketing podcasts out there, but you got to do things big and small to stand out from the crowd. And if you listen to the first 30 seconds of each episode of the Smart Passive Income podcast, you'll kind of see what we're talking about.
Right. Hey, if there's any kind of advice that you'd give somebody to start out, what's the one thing that you would tell them to think about?
Definitely, and this is what's helped me get off the ground, is take bold actions. And you could do your daily tasks day in and day out, and they might get you somewhere eventually. But the only way to make a real big difference is to just take really bold actions. And that's going to mean, I know it's going to mean stepping out of your comfort zone. And it has mean that for me a lot along my journey. But it was those big moves, like actually spending 2 months to write an ebook, or, actually emailing one of my idol bloggers to see if he could give me some advice. And then he eventually had me featured on his blog. It's all about taking those big, bold actions that will help you get somewhere faster. The big wins, as they like to say.
Awesome. And I know that to be true. And that take big, bold steps. In January of this year, I had been thinking about doing, more webinars forever. And finally, one day, I spent an entire day creating 7 Eventbrite pages, and each one of them was for a 2-hour webinar. And I remember sending out the email and saying, hey, within the next 2.5 weeks, I'm doing 7 webinars, 2 hours each. and I would love for you to sign up. Now, I will tell you what, that took me out of my comfort zone because I had not yet prepared what I was going to teach in each and every one of those. And I put it out there. They all sold out. I made $10,000. And I'll tell you what, that was a big, bold step that totally paid off. And today, it's still paying off with passive income.
There you go.
Pat,
Nice.
I appreciate you being on the show, my friend, and I'm certain that this won't be the last that my audience hears from you, and I'm very much looking forward to, let's see here, it is Saturday, October 23rd, 2010. Again, that's Saturday, October 23rd, 2010, from 11 a.m. Eastern Time to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, if I'm not mistaken, for you on the West Coast, you're getting up, you're starting out with us at 8 a.m., is that right?
Yeah.
So there you go. And folks, if you want to sign up for that, go over to podcastanswerman.com/passive income webinar. But before you do, here's one of those principles in place. Now, are you listening to this, Pat? Because I'm learning from the master. All right. The cost of admission for this webinar is $200. However, if you go right now and sign up for podcastanswerman.com/mailing list, and eventually Pat's going to tell me how I should make this much more easier for you to sign up and get immediately notified. But you go sign up, go to podcastanswerman.com/mailing list, sign up for the mailing list, and then send me an email. Tell me that you're on the list. I'll give you a discount coupon for $50 off.
Nice.
I'm learning, right?
No, that's good. We'll talk more about that in the webinar.
Awesome. All right, Pat, thank you very much for coming on the show, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I'll come if you just want to say hi. Come over and to the blog and just say what's up. I'll be there.
Awesome. Well, my friends, that is it. That is another episode of Podcast Answer Man in the can. So glad to have you guys out there. And by the way, guess what? It's the trial run last week of the Build It As You Go platform. It worked great. I was actually really surprised. I thought for sure that when I went back and listened to it, that it was certainly going to have all these kind of like glitchy, jumps from one topic to the next, and that it'd be so obvious that it wasn't a consistent, even flow from beginning to end. Although I did notice there was one section where there's just this obvious pause and has a total different inflection that didn't match where I had paused. I think if I learn from that and take some principles, I actually may continue to do quite a bit more of that build it as you go format for preparing Podcast Answer Man in the future. In fact, I thought about the only disadvantage I could think about with the way that I did last week's show is that at the front of the show, I didn't have the option or the ability to say, hey, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about this, and this. But I decided, what if I were to just start the show with the first topic, build it as I go, and then after I have finished, the end, kind of like this, and then the music fades out and it goes down, and that's the end of the show, and then I can record the open of the show. And then it becomes totally build as you go. I'm going to give that a try next week, unless, some amazing person comes along like Pat Flynn and, I need to interview them as well. So, hey, do me a favor. Go check out Pat Flynn. He's I'll tell you what, first thing you want to do, just go to twitter.com/Pat Flynn. That's PATFLYNN. Twitter.com/Pat Flynn. Go ahead and follow him. And make sure that you tell him that it was a great interview, a joy to have him on the show, and that you look forward to seeing the things that he's doing over there on his blog. And make sure that you go to his blog, and that's over at smartpassiveincome.com. Again, that's smartpassiveincome.com. And you can do what I did. I signed up for his mailing list. And if you sign up for his mailing list, you get a free ebook, and it is a perfect example of just how awesome an ebook should look. And that it's called eBooks the Smart Way. eBooks the Smart Way. You get it for free. Sign up for his mailing list, and you'll see how he does his mailing list, which is completely different than mine. I'm looking forward to learning from Pat Flynn myself. I am looking forward to Saturday, October 23rd. I hope that you are too. Again, go to podcastanswerman.com/passive income webinar. Use the discount code that you'll get from me after you sign up for my mailing list over at podcastanswerman.com/mailing list. You'll get $50 off. God bless you all. I'll talk to you again next week. Until then, I encourage you to join the community.